Welcome to the Homeschool Mama Support Group. I'm Teresa Wiedrick, the Certified Life Coach and Homeschool Mentor. Let's talk about preschoolers, motivation, and keeping your sanity. 3 topics offered as various scenarios or questions by homeschool moms here. 3 different scenarios, 3 different homeschool families. I wonder if you'd relate. The discussion of motivation, pretty common one. Preschoolers, depends on where you're at in the homeschool season, and keeping your sanity, universal. So Chelsea had shared that, and by the way, welcome to the group, Chelsea, that you're just beginning and you would like to know a little bit of everything. I love that. This is something you're just starting with your preschooler. You need all the information, resources, and ideas. First of all, I will leave a link below for the YouTube video that I created specifically for you, those that are homeschooling preschool. Also, I have a guide to your first homeschool year, which is a guide, an encouragement. It's consistent connection with me and really giving you various resources or insights into how to approach the pretty typical challenges within the first year. I can leave that link there as well. I just had a conversation with another mom on Instagram Live at every week on the Instagram channel, Homeschool Mama Self-Care. I have a homeschool mom chat with a homeschool mom at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so I just had a chat with a mom of she said 4-year-old and 18-month-old. She's from the UK and she was an alternative educationalist. I think I'm saying that wrong. She's an alternative support person, an alternative education support person. She was in the education system before she had kids. And so it was interesting to hear her perspective on education and also how to engage preschoolers in the homeschool. So if you'd like to also check that out, if you're on Instagram, it'll also be on YouTube, probably within the day. So definitely check those things out. I have, if I remember back what it was like to have kids at that age, I mean, my perspective now is that it's super cute. And I know that they're super cute and also a lot of work and they're busy. And I remember that. And I remember thinking, could I just have a little break here? Could you just sit quietly with books? But that was not my kids. Some kids apparently sit with books. Those weren't mine. But what can you do with preschoolers in your homeschool? Very much what she shared is what I have noticed is effective. It is actually to follow their interests. They are replete with ideas. And if you are thinking what I'm thinking, I also don't really think you need to begin official learning kind of things at a super young age. I know that there are many countries around the world that expect that kids actually have to show up. They're required to show up for school at 3 or 4. This seems shocking to me, but apparently it's a thing. It seems shocking to me because they're busy, they're active, they're always wanting to learn stuff, not necessarily perhaps what a system of education would want to teach them, but they definitely are very, very curious. And so we don't have to do that. If you are listening to this, you probably have freedom just like I do. You don't have to put your kiddo into school. And so if they are 3 or 4 or 5, enjoy them. Follow around whatever they're doing. Learn to look at what they're doing as learning opportunities because they are most definitely learning. Busy, busy, busy and learning. The things that I would encourage you to consider is that eyeball to eyeball time is something that you want to practice for yourself, getting in connection with your children, making sure to create connection times specifically with them. So you're not just following them around, cleaning up after them, that you're not just purposefully trying to introduce them to new concepts or new experiences, but you're just actually sitting with them and holding them and reading them a book. And when they get to the verbal stage and they can explain to you why they're doing the things that they're doing when they're playing with a doll or when they're building something, then ask them about it and let them speak and just listen intently. There are so many fun ways to engage a child at that age. I mean, there's toy stores built on this. And really just doing the fun activities with them not only creates memories, but also every little bit of that is learning. And yeah, I mean, I could give you loads of ideas on preschooling, but I think that video will do just as well. So I'll make sure that that link is there for you. And welcome to homeschooling. This is a super fun age for you. I think it's a super fun age to watch kids learn. There was also a discussion by Madison who asked, I just want an idea of how homeschooling is your own sanity included. So I think how I read that is like, tell me how to keep your sanity in this thing. And I know that when I was newer to homeschooling, that people would say I couldn't do that. That would be too much. Like I wouldn't have the patience for that. And that always made me giggle because I'm like, girl, you're looking at me. This is not patience incarnate. This is not what you think you're supposed to be. I wanted to do this homeschool thing. I had to learn patience. And I would say the same thing with sanity. You have to actually learn how to incorporate strategies. I call them wellness strategies. And so many wellness strategies that you could write a book or at least have your own burnout prevention plan, because it won't take long for you. Depends on the mom. Some moms have a lot of tolerance for a lot of noise and a lot of touch and a lot of busyness and a lot of activity. And then the rest of us find it overwhelming. And so we have to create a burnout prevention plan to actually put strategies into place on the routine so that we don't feel overwhelmed or burned out or losing our sanity, as you are sharing, Madison. One of the ways that I've been focusing my energies in the last little while is in teaching or in coaching on self-compassion. And I think there's various ways that you can use, like different strategies you can include for your experience as a mom in your home with a bunch of kids, teaching yourself to be kind to yourself. Now, how do you do that? Lots of different ways. One of the ways is to actually learn how to re-speak to yourself, to speak kindly to yourself. One of the easiest things you can do is forgive somebody else. Not so easy. But you know what's even harder? Forgiving yourself. Learning how to forgive yourself when you're engaging or showing up in a way in your homeschool, that your family, your homeschool family, in a way that you don't want to really on paper. If you were to have a cup of coffee with a newer homeschool mom or a newer mom, you wouldn't say, hey, when you're really frustrated and you have had enough of the kids, you just need to yell really loud and tell them to stop doing what they're doing. Nope, you wouldn't tell them that. Or you would say, you know what, you should just go sulk in your bedroom and be really quiet and sad and make sure everybody knows that you're sad and sulking and frustrated because they're being too loud or they didn't do what you wanted to do. Nope, you wouldn't tell them that. There's all sorts of habits that we have learned to cultivate over the course of time that are not that helpful in how we relate to others, also in how we relate to ourselves. And that's where self-compassion can come in and really reteach us how to engage with ourselves and with others. One of the strategies that I encourage is to use affirmations. And though I think it is one of those kind of icing on the cake self-compassion strategies, it's one of the more superficial kinds or approaches, I do want to share them with you because I know there are other people that have found it really powerful to hear certain words spoken over them because they've never heard them being spoken over them before. Or even just making statements, speaking out loud the things that you wish for yourself to do or to embody in your homeschool. Like these self-compassion statements. I am fully present and engaged in the current moment. I release any worries about the past and the future and focus on the now. I'm grateful for the present moment and all the experiences it brings. I trust that everything is happening exactly as it should in this moment. I allow myself to fully embrace and experience the present moment. So those are just a sampling of self-compassion affirmations, which you actually can find in the 11 uplifting affirmations for homeschool moms. I'll make sure to put that link in the section below. there are many different ways that you can incorporate self-compassion strategies in order to maintain your sanity. One of them is to get alone time. That might be one of the biggest things, and also one of the hardest. In the last few years, as I'm homeschool coaching, I'm coaching homeschool moms, whether it's life or homeschool mentoring. I have learned, I hear the story often, I should say, moms telling me that they don't have the capacity or they don't have the bandwidth to be with their kids all the time with the busyness and the loudness and being fully, doing all the things that they want to do for their homeschools. And they really, really want to. They want to learn how they can do it so they don't burn out or they don't feel like they're losing their mind. And I think one of the easiest things I can do is to get alone time. And also, I get it. It's one of the hardest things to do. Sometimes the logistics mean you really don't have someone else to bring them to. Maybe you aren't partnered. Maybe you don't have family locally. Maybe you haven't connected in with a homeschool community yet. There's various reasons why some people might actually really find that tricky for a time. Work toward that community so that you can create those opportunities to maybe exchange kids with someone else. But when it comes to the partnered homeschool mom, I have heard this on repeat, like almost every single time. I have heard that dads typically are wanting their wives to leave or their partners to leave and to go get some quiet time and do things that they enjoy doing. But you know what happens? You don't want to. You're like, I don't know that he knows what he's doing when I'm not here. Or you don't say that out loud. Maybe you do. But you go, I don't know. It really seems to me that everything would be better and the world would spin on its axis better if I stayed with my kids 24/7. And though I agree with you, I understand that instinct. You gotta leave. You gotta get some alone time. Get some alone time once a week, just doing literally anything away from the kids. It is remarkable how you'll come back happy to see them again. And that is definitely the energy that you need to bring to your children. You can also begin your day alone, assuming that you're not waking up with kids. Creating some time in the morning to pray, to meditate, to have quiet time, sitting reading something inspirational, having a mindfulness moment, or journaling. Maybe, turn on a candle, do some stretching, listen to some quiet music, even if it's just 10 minutes before they find you. Creating that time alone is rejuvenating. Perhaps you want to take a midday nap with the kids and while they're watching a documentary or using their screens, because you have purposely pulled out the screens so they can use the screens at a time that works for you so you can go get some necessary quiet time or a nap as it is. You could also just sit with the kids and, give them a bowl of popcorn while you quietly watch the documentary. Noise cancellation headphones, that is something that has only really happened after I did my early parenting, but it would be so powerful even to put earbuds in your ears. Sometimes even to have other noise if you're listening to a podcast or an audiobook or something while you're doing your routine, part of your day maybe where you don't need to be fully engaged with the kids and just be focused in a different direction. Sometimes that works. Definitely, if you can, exchange your kids for other people's kids once a week so that your friend can look after your kids and their kids at the same time. Then the following week, you look after your kids and their kids. That's a really great way for you to get some time alone even in your home. Or I think this is a great idea too. If they're just too little and you're like, all of these ideas really won't work, they're too small, and I need to just go somewhere, then do. Put them into the car or the van and strap them in and turn up some nice music or some calming music and just drive. Definitely a useful strategy on days where you feel like I just got to get out of here. There are many, many more other ways to maintain your sanity. And if you would like to learn more of those, I encourage you to, I've got a free class on building strategies to address your big emotions in your homeschool. I'm happy to put that free class, the link, in the section below as well. And the last question is about motivation. I love this one. So I figured this one out, this discussion on my own over the course of, 2 decades of kids. So this mom, Melissa, had said, welcome, Melissa. You said, how did you cultivate self-motivated learners? Okay, well, I'll give you my prescription. And I don't know that I actually wrote something on this already, or if it's on a list of things that I wanted to write about. So you gave me a great reminder. So a few things that I wrote down is, one, surprisingly, you need to not insist on them doing so much. If you have a really robust routine where you're like, these are all the things I want you to do, and it's really important that we check off the box or check off the list by the end of the day, and you really gotta do these math book or this worksheet, you gotta have at least an hour of math today. And then, well, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me if it's an hour, 6 hours, or 15 minutes, but when you put yourself into a place of, I gotta check everything off, and you want the kids to know they have to also check everything off, that's a surefire way to make them not motivated. Why? Because they don't care. That's really why it is. They don't have anything invested in it. So I know that there are some times where you're like, but I really want them to know this. That's great. That is totally fair. You are moms. That is our prerogative. We have things that we want our kids to know. And so, and if you're an unschooler and you're like, I'm good, I don't need to, well, then you can just turn off this live right now. But if you are of the persuasion where you want someone to know something that is your child, then you just have to recognize that it's kind of like a bank. You put in a certain amount of currency or a certain amount of money by giving them loads and loads of time to do whatever they want to do, a lot of freedom. And if you are insisting on them doing something they don't want to do, you're taking money out. And so, it's a withdrawal. It is an emotional withdrawal. It's an energy withdrawal. And it's totally fair that sometimes, I think it's totally fair that sometimes they don't get to do what they want to do, or that you want them to do certain things, certain activities. You want them to help, learn how to wash the dishes. And who wants to do dishes except a 2-year-old? But sometimes there's things we don't want to do. But if we are insisting that they're always doing things they don't want to do, they will definitely lose their verve. That is not just an experience of a child. That is also every other human stage. Every adult doesn't like being told what to do all day long either. So getting out of their way was a really big one for me. How I learned to cultivate a self-motivated learner was to get out of their way, give them loads of solitude and space to do things that they also love to do. Another thing that I would say is, because all kids are different and they're all wired differently, try to get to know why they're not motivated. If they're old enough to give you an answer, ask them. So why do you not care about this thing? Or maybe sometimes, there's discussions around screens sometimes, lots of times even. People are concerned about kids having too much screen time, and they don't think their kids are motivated, and they're not that interested in life. And sometimes that's true. That's also us on social media or on various things online too. And sometimes it's not true. Sometimes we really want to get through to the next level on a game, or we really like something that we're doing on a screen. It's worth having a discussion with your kiddo about why they want to be doing what they're doing, or also understanding what the roadblock for their motivation, their disinterest or their apathy is. I would ask the question, I'd have the conversation before I made assumptions about what I'm seeing in front of me, because we can easily misinterpret the scenario. We do this all the time as humans relating to other humans. We assume that what we see in front of us is something that's happening because of how we understood the world. And yet not all of us engage the same way. We're not motivated in the same way. And so I might interpret someone's approach differently than you might. And it's purely because we instinctively wouldn't engage the way we later learn someone would engage. And that's the same with our kids. You'd think they're the ship off the old block, but they're not. They're different. They're unique. So ask them, what are the reasons that you look kind of bored? They might tell you, I'm not. Or, because I don't want to do this, I don't care about this. I really think there's value in asking kids about their motivation or why they're doing what they're doing, but it also is really valuable for you to, get clear on what the challenge is, but also to get clear on how much do you really need to insist that they participate in. That is most definitely two elements of cultivating self-motivated learners, in my opinion. I do think it's possible that when a parent or anyone else, a teacher, anybody outside of a child, is very engaged with an activity, they're really curious about something or they're really excited about something. Like my husband at times talks about various things around economics or, politics or things like that. And he's animated and he loves it and he's very interested. And so the kids naturally learn about it because dad really likes this and he's really engaged in this conversation and they want to be part of that conversation. So they want to learn. And I don't know about you, but those general topics, especially economics, it's not that interesting for me. And yet if I've actually learned a ton from my husband. And when I am hanging out with him, I'm not saying, hey, let's talk about world economics. I just really enjoy the energy that he infuses the discussion around that topic. And so then I'm curious. And then I do actually feel motivated to learn a little bit. Not learn the way he learns about it, not with that level of depth, but I am curious. And so there is something to be said that motivation can happen when you are around someone that is curious and interested in their world and they like sharing it with others. But that doesn't always work either. Just because someone is interested in birding doesn't mean that you necessarily will spend an hour reading about all the different types of birds in your local area. You are just a separate human and you have different interests. It's just the way it is. The beauty of homeschooling is that you can indeed accommodate for that if you so choose. So I would say that at first thoughts, I know that I have a lot more to say on motivation. I'm actually having a really interesting conversation with Andrew Pudawa, who is what would you call him, a CEO? He's the leader at the IEW, the Institute for Excellence in Writing. I'm interviewing him for my podcast, Homeschool Mama Self-Care. And he does a lot of deep discussion on motivation. So likely in the podcast episode that I'm going to be releasing with him in the next little while, there will be a great discussion on motivation in the homeschool. So we will definitely go there more deeply. And it is lovely to have you here, Chelsea and Madison and let's see, Melissa. I'm glad you're here. So this is a Q&A, or I like how the Homeschool Unrefined podcast ladies have said that they really prefer Q&P, question and process, instead of question and answer. And I'm like, I like that because I'm not really big on one person has all the answers. That's not a thing. And I know that's not a thing for me either. As a coach, that's not how I roll. My goal isn't to spout off answers as much as it is to sit with you to help you understand what your challenges really are and get a lot clearer on what is all the different ingredients to why you're frustrated with what you're frustrated with, or why you're confused or not feeling great about something. So I help you get clear, but I also help to reflect it back to you, whatever you're saying. I help you get really clear on what it is you're saying, and then help you to figure out what your next steps are in addressing that challenge. So I'm not big on Q&A, I'm more on Q&P, questioning and processing. Having said that, I thought it'd be kind of fun if I asked you a question. So here's my question. And it's one that I have routinely with homeschool moms of varying stages of homeschooling, but it's not always one that I get when people are joining the Homeschool Mama support group here. So one of the questions that I might ask in coaching is this: if you were to boldly embrace your values of autonomy and freedom, assuming those are your values, they often are for homeschool parents, if you were to boldly embrace your values of autonomy and freedom, what would your life look like in 6 months? I'd love to hear your thoughts if you would share below. And I wanted to share Abby's thoughts. Abby is someone that was looking to life coach with me. And so she said to me, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for time for reflection, insight from someone who understands the unique challenges that working as a working homeschool mom and homeschooling brings. I want to hear about why, I am a lifelong learner, but I tend to pursue readings and opportunities that are more relational with a cohort or a group. I think at this point in my homeschool journey, I would benefit though from one-on-one guidance. That's brilliant. That's exactly what I do. I offer group coaching opportunities at various times through the year. In the, I think it's April 20th and 21st, I'm going to be offering the Spring Homeschool Mama Retreat. It's a weekend retreat intended to do a deep dive into all the things that I've spoken to you about today. So time for reflection, you will get that, most definitely. Insight from someone who understands. Oh yeah, girl, definitely. Actually was sharing with Andrew Pudawa today that I feel like I am not just representing my own homeschooling experience anymore, that I've spent so much time with other homeschool families, other homeschool parents, that I feel like I've dipped my toes in so many different experiences of what it's like to be a homeschool parent. And that has really informed how I'm approaching people. And it has been very interesting, I'll tell you that. It's been very interesting. But so I find that one-on-one coaching, though, is probably the most effective strategy to really digging into the things that are challenging you. So if you're interested in that, book a conversation with me. Make sure to book the link down below, and we can have a conversation on how we can do that. On Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Homeschool Mama Support Group is going to be joining together to have a conversation about anything that matters to you. That's a paid support group. So every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, it's either a support group where we just have a good old-fashioned chat, get some questions discussed, and then also a writer's room, a book discussion is on another week, and we also have a customized workshop. This month it'll be about kids fighting. Can anyone relate? Unless you have a singleton. Then who do they fight with? Tell me that. They must be fighting with somebody. Anyways, that's what's up this week. If you're looking to connect with me, make sure to book the conversation below when you're ready. And I hope you all have a really lovely week. We'll talk to you soon.